Okay, so first thing that you should cover with one of your student athletes is the proper grip on a bat. And we refer to our knocking knuckles, and you can tell them if you're going to knock on the door, these are the knuckles you're going to use, and that's how we want to grip the bat, in this fashion here, lining up our knocking knuckles. So if we were to draw a piece of a straight line here between our knocking knuckles, and a good drill to do is to get a marker and mark it right down their knuckles, and then when they get the bat, they can look down and make sure they've got a straight line, and that's the grip we'd like to have when we're holding the bat. Also, when you're gripping the bat, we want to refer to it as if you're holding a bird. We don't want to squeeze it too tight and kill the bird, but we don't want to squeeze it so lightly that the bird can fly away. So just tell them a very light grip on the bat, line up the knocking knuckles. So as a quick recap, one of the most important things that we can do is show the kids how to properly grip the bat. So if I ask her to put both hands out, lining up her knocking knuckles like this, okay? Put your hands just like that. And I'm going to lay the bat in here. I don't want it back here by her thumb. I want it right in the crease of her knocking knuckles, okay, on both hands. And now I'm going to ask her to close her fingers around the bat. And what we're looking for is the bat to be held out here, not into the back part of the hand. So now we'll look at her grip here, and here's her knocking knuckles, and here's her knocking knuckles. I need to fix that. And that brings her elbows in and gets her in the proper stand. You're a lefty, huh?
No.
Well, you're holding it lefty. Switch your hands. There we go. Okay, so now this is really good. That probably had the problem. She was a left-handed grip with a righty. This is what we're after, light grip. You see the white knuckles? She's got that bird choking right now. So tell them light grip, really light grip. What I like to do is as the pitcher's getting ready, ask them to wiggle their fingers on the bat. Keep your, yeah, just like that. Keep those fingers moving until right before you swing. And that way as a coach, I know they're not squeezing the bat too tight. Okay? As your student athlete becomes, starts their batting or hitting at practice, there's going to be a lot of different stances. But if I was a coach and I was teaching the proper mechanics, I would ask them to be square to the pitcher, meaning their back foot and their front foot are square to the plate. If anything, we want the back toe turned in, not ever out. The feet should be wider than our shoulders, and we actually act like we're squeezing a basketball between our knees as the pitcher gets ready to deliver the ball. So basically it's going to look something like this, with the weight being on the inside of my back foot and a light weight on my front foot. And as from there, we want to take a short stride without shifting back. We just want to lift the front foot up and put it right back down, and that's called our load or trigger. That starts our swing. So our foot, again, should be, if we're out of the box, we step in and try to create a routine for your student athlete. I try to have all of ours do the same thing. Back foot in first, front foot in, they might tap the plate, and then get ready to hit. Again, feet wider than our shoulders, the weight on the inside of our back foot, and load and step and go. We've talked about in step one how to get into the box and how our feet should be positioned. Step two would be how do we want to load and when do we want to load. So if I was hitting, depending on the speed of the pitcher, and this is what I should do when I'm on the odd deck circle, is I want to time when I want to get ready. So my relaxed position would be with my bat on my shoulder, just nice and relaxed, and then depending on at some point in the time in the circle of the pitcher, depending on how hard they throw, is when I want to load. Loading meaning getting about 85% of my weight onto my back foot. So I'm here, nice and relaxed, and then as the pitcher's starting to come around, I'm going to load. And simply by just squatting down onto this back leg, I'm going to get 85% of my weight on this foot, and I should be able to pick up that front foot without moving my head. What you will see, some kids, when they try to pick up their foot, they'll load, and then they'll do this to pick up their front foot. We want to resist that. All the weight, as this knee bends in, all the weight's here on the inside of my back foot, and I can pick up that back foot without moving my head. That's the proper load. So again, we're right relaxed, the pitcher starts to throw, I load, step, and swing. The problem we'll see is if a kid gets in this position for a long time and they're waiting for the pitch to be delivered, they'll tend to get muscle stagnant and they're going to just sit there, and then they'll have to try to adjust from when the pitch is coming. So we don't want to load until right before we're going to swing. I want to get into my load position probably a half a second before I decide to swing. Here, load, and then swing. Okay, as we're hitting, I encourage us all to have a stride, and it's a timing mechanism. Some of us like to get wider and not stride. I believe wholeheartedly that a stride is going to help the kid decide when they need to swing. And in the stride, what we want to look for is there's basically a perpendicular line that goes here to the ground. We want to always keep this straight up and down. We don't want to stride and have it leaning this way, and we don't want to stride and have it leaning this way. We want it to always be straight up and down. So as I stride, I want that to always be here, and even during our swing, I want this to always be straight up and down. What we also want to look for is when they stride is we just want to touch the toe down. We don't want to drive it into the ground. We're just going to step and just touch the toe down. And that's what we're looking for. Again, without moving the head. The stride and leaving the head still. Okay, the force process, what we've talked about, is going to the slot. And you'll hear a lot of coaches say that you're casting your hands. And what that means is when my hands start, the first thing I do is throw my top hand, which gets the bat head out in front. So I can't really adjust and I can't stay inside the ball. So if I'm going to tell my student athlete you're casting, they should know that that means I'm throwing my top hand out and I'm not going into the slot. What the slot means is I'm going to here is I'm going to drive my hands into my body. The hips will turn as if it's a fastball. The hands are going to stay back and read the pitch. So the slot would look something like this. We go to the stride. The slot is the hips are turning, but the hands haven't gone, and then the hands come into the slot. We're right here. And at this point, we're deciding if it's a ball or a strike. If it's a strike, we're going to continue with the swing. If it's a ball, we're going to hold up and let the ball go by. So again, we're going to go from stance, squeeze, stride, slot. The hips are turning, the hands are staying back and reading the pitch. And again, you see the barrel is inside my hands. We don't want to cast. When you say cast, the top hand starts to go first, and now we're going to have to, it's going to elongate our swing. Our swing should come from here, inside and out. Inside out means the barrel of the bat's coming here and driving in and then out, as opposed to casting early and then coming around the ball, which creates a longer swing. The last part of it is we recognize if it's a ball or a strike. We determine it is a strike, and our philosophy to our hitter should be everything is a strike, we react to a ball. Everything is a strike, react to a ball. Don't react to a strike. I'm anticipating a strike, so again, relax, squeeze, stride, go to the slot, and now the swing part of it, wherever the pitch is, I'm going to read it. If it's down in the zone, I'm going to go get it. If it's up in the zone, I'm going to always keep my hands higher than the ball, and I'm going to go get it. So again, the swing comes from here, and then the swing happens right here. And everything is extended right on through the contact point. If the ball's here, I want the bat on the ball and staying on that plane as long as possible. What we'll see is a lot of kids will open up and they'll get on plane and off plane, and their follow through comes over here. We want their follow through here, staying on plane with the ball here as long as possible. If I'm late, I'm still going to foul it off. If I'm early, I'm still going to foul it off. If I get on plane and pull it off early, I've got to have perfect time or I'm going to swing and miss.
Action.
The other thing we should stretch to our student athletes is during contact, our hands should always be above the barrel of the bat. The bottom hand should always be above the top hand, and the elbow should be always above both hands. So if I get a pitch down in the zone, it all takes care of itself, and I'm here. Barrel is below the hands, both hands, this bottom hand's above the top hand, and the elbow is above this hand. If I get a pitch that's up in the zone, and this is something you should work on with your tee and net, throwing some high pitches, again, I'm going to go here. Everything's elevated, the barrel of the bat is at the top of the strike zone, both hands are above the barrel, and my elbow is above both hands. That's critical. When you're working on tee work and stuff, have them go through the step to where they just get to the ball and stop, and make sure we're in this position, palm up and palm down, always. Let's not teach them to roll. We don't want to ever do that. We don't want to make contact here. Every time we make contact, we want palm up and palm down position, no matter where it's at. If it's high, if it's low, we want palm up, palm down. Don't tell your student athletes to roll at the ball. We don't want to hit a ball here. Okay? What happens is right at contact, then we roll our hands, the barrel comes up, and we swing and miss over the top of it. So again, hands above the barrel, elbow above the hands. Okay? The other thing we should stretch to our student athletes is during contact, our hands should always be above the barrel of the bat. The bottom hand should always be above the top hand, and the elbow should be always above both hands. So if I get a pitch down in the zone, it all takes care of itself, and I'm here. Barrel is below the hands, both hands, this bottom hand's above the top hand, and the elbow is above this hand. If I get a pitch that's up in the zone, and this is something you should work on with your tee and net, throwing some high pitches, again, I'm going to go here. Everything's elevated. The barrel of the bat is at the top of the strike zone. Both hands are above the barrel, and my elbow is above both hands. That's critical. When you're working on tee work and stuff, have them go through the step to where they just get to the ball and stop, and make sure we're in this position. Palm up and palm down, always. Let's not teach them to roll. We don't want to ever do that. We don't want to make contact here. Every time we make contact, we want palm up and palm down position, no matter where it's at. If it's high, if it's low, we want palm up, palm down. Don't tell your student athletes to roll at the ball. We don't want to hit a ball here. Okay? What happens is right at contact, then we roll our hands, the barrel comes up, and we swing and miss over the top of it. So again, hands above the barrel, elbow above the hands. The process that we're going to cover here is where should the student athlete be in the box in relationship to the plate. And as a coach, you should cover this at practice. You might say position 1 is the very front of the box, position 2 is in the middle, even with the plate, position 3 is in the very back of the box. I would go to position 1 if we have a slower pitcher or a pitcher that throws everything down in the zone. I'd go to position 2 if we had a medium throwing pitcher and maybe throwing the ball up a little bit. I would go to position 3 if the pitcher's throwing it harder and we need a little bit more time to adjust to the speed of the pitch. And again, ideally you can be too far off the plate by in the outside part of the box or crowding the plate. So cover this with your student athletes. Position 1, 2, or 3, and do you want them crowding the plate or do you want them off the plate? I would suggest to start neutral and let them figure it out from there, and then you can adjust them based on how the pitcher's throwing.